Welcome to Global Axis. Today, we're looking at the immense devastation of the magnitude 7.8 earthquake that just struck Mindanao in the southern Philippines. In this explainer, we're going to dive right into the destruction, the tragic human toll, some honestly incredible accounts of survival, and the massive rescue efforts that are currently underway. You know, when the ground beneath you suddenly gives way, the world literally changes in an instant, and that is exactly what happened to the people of Mindanao.
To really wrap our heads around the severity of this tragedy, we have to start right here. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake. I mean, this wasn't just a minor tremor, right? This was a violent, catastrophic rupture that hit on what was otherwise a totally quiet, sleepy Monday morning. A 7.8 magnitude carries a frankly incomprehensible amount of energy, and when it hit, it immediately threw the entire region into absolute chaos.
And the immediate human cost is just devastating. As of the initial reports, we are looking at least 37 people confirmed dead. Disaster response officials, including Assistant Secretary Bernardo Alejandro, have made it super clear that while they desperately hope this number stays right where it is, the harsh reality is they expect it to climb. Right now, the absolute top priority on the ground is search and rescue, just frantically trying to find anyone who might still be trapped.
On top of that, 487 people have been reported injured. But, just like the fatality count, officials heavily fear both of these casualty numbers are unfortunately going to rise. Emergency responders are out there right now, digging through rubble, searching for survivors in coastal cities and inland towns alike. The scale of the medical emergency here is massive, and hospitals across the region are being pushed to their absolute limits.
Now, the sheer scale of the structural destruction is just as staggering. Early estimates are showing structural damage to nearly 2,000 homes. Take a second to think about that. That's thousands of families who woke up on a totally normal Monday morning and within minutes found their homes cracked, leaning, or just entirely reduced to rubble. The displacement is massive.
But here is the number that really stops you in your tracks. 6,000. That's an estimated 6,000 public schools damaged across the island. 6,000! Schools are basically the foundational pillars of any community. So the fact that the structural integrity of this many educational buildings was compromised in a matter of seconds, it paints a terrifying picture of just how much force this earthquake unleashed across Mindanao. And beyond those raw numbers, this quake powerfully disrupted daily life on every conceivable level. You might have seen the viral videos capturing these horrific scenes, like a branch of the beloved Jollibee fast food restaurant collapsing in General Santos City while onlookers just watched in absolute shock. Large swaths of the island were plunged into darkness with widespread power outages and severed phone lines. The seismic energy was actually so profound that it even sparked massive tsunami warnings, displacing tens of thousands of people as far south as Indonesia and all the way up across Japan's Pacific coast.
Okay, let's move into our first section. Accounts from the ground. 2 minutes of terror.
You know, numbers only tell us the scale of a disaster, but survivor accounts tell us what it actually felt like to live through it. Take construction worker Ramel Pato. He was just dropping off his 3 young kids, aged 9, 12, and 13, at their school in Palomolog town when the violent tremors suddenly began. He describes this incredibly powerful shaking, the immediate panic, and the heartbreaking sight of kids just scattering and crying. Interestingly enough, Ramel actually survived a quake back in 1998 when he was just 7, which kind of gave him the presence of mind to try and avoid panicking so he could think clearly for his kids.
Over in Lubbock Town, we hear from public school teacher Cesar Sendo, who described this dizzying, truly terrifying scene. He said it felt like being vigorously rocked on a hammock for more than 2 minutes. Can you imagine that? Trying to stay on your feet, feeling completely dizzy, while simultaneously trying to calm down thousands of panicked, screaming 13-year-old students as the ground is just violently swaying and getting stronger by the second? But the timing of it all is incredibly miraculous. Science Minister and veteran seismologist Renato Saladum pointed out a stunning fact. Countless students were saved simply because they were already outside attending their weekly Monday morning flag ceremony. Remember those 6,000 damaged public schools we just talked about? Well, had this quake struck just a little later in the day, thousands of those children would have been sitting right inside those crumbling buildings. They were quite literally saved by their morning assembly.
So, why did this happen? Let's dive into Section 2. The science beneath the surface.
To really grasp why this region is so incredibly vulnerable to catastrophic seismic events, we've got to look beneath the surface at the underlying geography. Why does the Earth shake so violently in the Philippines? Well, the answer starts right here. The Philippines sits squarely on the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is a massive, highly volatile geological horseshoe right in the basin of the Pacific Ocean. It's globally infamous for heightened seismic and volcanic activity. The tectonic plates here are constantly grinding, slipping, and colliding, which makes earthquakes a routine but constantly threatening reality for the nation.
Getting a bit more specific, Monday's devastating quake was caused by violent tectonic movement along a specific geological feature known as the Cotabato Trench. This is a deep oceanic subduction zone located just off the country's southern tip, and it is a well-known source of absolutely massive earthquakes.
And man, the Cotabato Trench has a really dark, tragic historical track record. While survivors like Remo Pato recall that smaller quake in '98, the Cotabato Trench has a much darker past. Back in 1976, it generated a colossal magnitude 7.9 earthquake. That single event triggered a catastrophic tsunami that swept through the region and killed approximately 5,000 people. So when the ground shakes here, the historical trauma is very, very real. All right, let's move into our final section, rescue and ongoing response.
So, to address this immediate crisis and the hundreds of dangerous aftershocks that are still mercilessly rocking the island, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has stated he is mobilizing the entire government machinery. Because, the initial quake is really only the beginning of a disaster like this. He immediately flew his transportation and health secretaries down from the capital in Manila straight to Mindanao to directly oversee the response. They're out there right now coordinating emergency relief flights, trying to push supplies and personnel into areas that have been completely cut off from the rest of the country.
But wow, this response is an incredibly tense, high-stakes balancing act. Health Secretary Teodoro Herbosa reported truly harrowing reality on the ground. Medical professionals are frantically trying to treat the bleeding and the broken, even as strong, terrifying aftershocks continue to rock their medical stations. Just try to picture that, trying to perform life-saving care while the very building around you continues to shake.
And getting those medical supplies and relief goods to where they are needed, it's an absolute logistical nightmare. Take the town of Joseabad Santos in Davao Occidental. Mayor Jason John Joyce noted that devastating landslides have completely buried the town's only highway. Half the town is totally inaccessible by road right now. That means relief goods literally have to be loaded onto aircraft and flown into these far-flung barangays, or villages, just to keep people alive.
Which leaves us with a really profound and vital question as we wrap up this explainer. As the Philippines bravely navigates this immediate trauma, treating their wounded amidst the ongoing tremors of the Ring of Fire, how can these resilient communities safely rebuild in the face of such unrelenting natural forces? It's a question of engineering, of geography, and honestly, of the incredible endurance of the human spirit. Keep the people of Mindanao in your thoughts as this story continues to develop. Thanks for watching.